YouTube, it's Mr. Malcolm back with y'all again. As per usual, please leave a like and go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You can comment afterwards. Feel free to comment. Please do comment. Please give your feedback. But go ahead and hit the like button because the like button does help with the algorithms on YouTube to keep the video circulating and let people know that the content, let YouTube know that the content is being watched. So that's much appreciated. So the title and the discussion that we have today is Anthony Fauci's emails being leaked, okay? So just a little bit of quick background on what's taking place. Through what's known as the Freedom of Information Act, that's the act where you can solicit information, okay, from government agencies and government institutions. Through the Freedom of Information Act, at least over 100 emails were released to the public and released specifically to Reddit, the online forum and website, through, again, the Freedom of Information Act. And these emails most of them were to Dr. Fauci from random people, okay? Now, the emails themselves, well, first of all, let's get into some background about Fauci. Dr. Anthony Fauci is what's known as a physician scientist for the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases. Now, this is up under the NIH. The NIH is considered the National Institute of Health. Okay, the National Institute of Health as well as the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases are both government agencies. In fact, that the Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases is up under the National Institute of Health. Okay, so it's all one government agency. Okay, and as with any government agency, it's taxpayer funded, right? Now, there's a lot of issues with this. You have people looking at it and approaching it from different angles, and I'm gonna get into it and look at it from several angles as well. The biggest angle and the number one angle is people are saying that this proves that Fauci knew basically they're saying that he knew the entire time that, we'll just say, the beer flu, right? I don't want to have YouTube pick up the algorithms and penalize my video for saying the word. If y'all know if any of you guys know how the algorithms work. So because of the beer flu, if you had any kind of common sense and did any kind of independent research, of course you know that this is, or you at least had your suspicions, and if you did the research, then you would see that it was, a man-made thing. Whether you want to use that term specifically, man-made, whether you want to say artificial, engineered, whatever term you want to put to it. Again, those people who are truly critical thinkers and did their independent research could have seen that and did see that. So you have that aspect of it. You have people who want to blame Fauci, which I'm not saying he's absolved of any blame, but you have people who want to make him the front running person and the one who absolves all the blame, and as if he was the sole perpetrator of every infraction that COVID-19 caused, which of course, if you have any kind of common sense, any kind of knowledge of what's really going on, that's completely ridiculous. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a second. But the reason being is because Anthony Fauci, let's be real when you look at it. If Fauci goes down for this, and even so let's just take it at face value and assume that what is being said and assumed is correct, that he did know that the beer flu, look, I almost slipped up, that the beer flu was engineered, that it was man-made. Let's say he did know that. Would anybody of us really be surprised? And then secondly, if it was man-made, was he the one that engineered the virus? No. So my point being is that Anthony Fauci is just a fall guy. Him going down and him being implicated in this entire thing means next to nothing, okay? At the end of the day, when you look at it, him coming down for this and him being blamed for this, it really does nothing for the vaccine being pushed out. It does nothing for the numerous thousands of people that have already died from whether the vaccine or they had COVID, they caught a bad case of COVID. It does nothing for any of those folks. So it's a moot point. It's null and void, essentially, as far as how I'm concerned with it. Secondly, though, if we look at the NIH and look at their funding, the NIH, again, is a government agency. Now, if you know anything about what's going on and what takes place in the United States right now, what's going on as far as how the government runs, you know that it's basically, they're all sold out to corporate interests. So this is a corporatocracy, basically. So the issue comes in that whereas the NIH, the National Institute of Health, They're a large organization comprised of, I want to say, like something like 300,000 scientists, comprised of over about 2,500 institutions across the country, and their budget is about $34 billion. So the issue comes in at where all these groups, they do this research, and a lot of their funding and everything, the research that they do, or should I say the funding and the budget goes towards the type of research that it goes towards is things like, supposed to be like, research about viruses, prevention, intel, specifically intelligence, just all any and all kind of research that revolves around diseases, their origins, how people can overcome them. This is what it's supposed to go for, right? Now the problem becomes whereas the research that the NIH does for all of this money that's in their budget, okay, by these scientists and these researchers and developers, a lot of it turns into early stage products, specifically drugs, right? That go to companies, corporations, big pharmaceutical companies, right? From there, those products that went in the contracts that go to the companies, they turn into FDA approved full products at that point, if that makes sense. But in other words, they get FDA approval, and they turn into full products that can be sold on the market, on the free market. And so this is where these corporations make a lot of money, and this is where the corruption obviously clearly occurs at, and where a lot of people take issue with it. And so the NIH, my point in bringing that up is the NIH, as well as the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which Fauci is up under, it's all under the same panoply of corporate corruption and government corruption that, again, if you're anybody who's been in the know and you do your own independent research and study, then you know about these things, and you understand what's going on. And so that shouldn't come as a surprise either. Now, the thing about it is, and thirdly, this is another thing that could be taken about, and this is another angle by which this needs to be considered, is that you have right-wing conservatives, conspiracy people, which, I don't want to harp on the conspiracy theories, because for one, I'm a conspiracy. I don't call it a theorist. I'm a conspiracy realist, because much of what people call conspiracy, again, if you actually do your own independent study, you understand that what most of people call conspiracy, the vast majority of it, are just things and ideas and facts that they have not studied, and that they're not really knowledgeable about, or that they listen to the corporate news, the corporate mainstream media news, and then they get the wrong opinions about it, and then they just they have a ill conception of conspiracy, not realizing that most conspiracy is rooted in fact. I can't say most, because you have a lot of fringe conspiracy theories out there, but you get the point, right? However, you have the right-wing conspiracy theorists who, again, examining the specific emails, and I'll leave a link to the emails that Fauci, because they're really not Fauci's emails. Well, they are Fauci's emails, but I'll leave a link to the emails that he's been implicated in, and it's like I said, it's over 100. It's numerous emails, but out of the emails, there's a couple that stand out from the month of February 2020 last year. February 5th, if I'm not mistaken, there was an email where he told someone specifically not to wear masks. He recommended that they don't wear masks because the mask was not effective. I think there was an email on February 21st as well. And this is one of the emails that has garnered more controversy and more attention. But it's an email essentially from a professor or a scientist at Cornell University, if my memory serves me correctly. And the scientist was advising Fauci of research that could implicate that the beer flu was man-made and was engineered. And Fauci's response to this email was he forwarded that email to one of his colleagues and said, please handle. Okay, in corporate terms and in corporate emails, terminology, those of you who may have been in the corporate world and those of us who in the corporate world have been in the corporate world, we understand what please handle means. Okay, so that was pretty damning, although it is noteworthy to state that the scientist who apparently sent that email to Fauci on February 21st of 2020 with the suggestion from research that he had cited and included in the email and referenced in the email to Fauci, is noteworthy, and it's worthy to state that it said, if my memory is correct, that he came out after that, soon after that, with an article that said, or with information that said that they did not believe that the virus was man-made, which to me is neither here nor there. That's just basically covering tracks, because again, if you follow the money, whenever you follow the money, you'll see what's really going on, as clearly as in this case. And so you have the right-wing conspiracy theorists who, they're taking all this information and, essentially running with it. A lot of these people were Trump supporters, um, which is understandable. If you were already of that disposition and mindset that there was a deep state and Trump was against the deep state, then you would take that position. You also have left-wing conspiracy theorists who are, I don't necessarily call them conspiracy theorists, but extremists, we can say, who are wanting to shoot down what the right wingers are saying. But it's ironic, the same way that the right wing, I guess you could call them conspiracy people, extremists, right? The ones who feel strongly about the right side and conservatism. A lot of them are being labeled conservatives, which I'm sure a lot of them are conservatives, but I don't necessarily may think it's the most accurate thing to do to label them all conservatives. But anyway, the point being is that the conservatives, whenever it's something involving Trump or was something involving Trump, they typically turn a blind eye to it. Whereas the people on the left side, if it involves Biden, Kamala Harris, anything having to do with Fauci, specifically in emails, the left wants to deny and shun it. So, as my point being is to you, my audience, and just any independent thinker out there, you have to be able to see this and see the Hegelian dialectic going on, and see the controlled opposition. They're controlling both sides, right? So, or even if they're, I mean, to put it in more dumbed down terms, you see neither side really has much credibility as it pertains to what's going on right now. But that should be a further indication of what's going on behind the scenes, because again, with the Hegelian dialectic, okay, if people get into, there's a book by, I think his name is Ralph Epperson, called The Unseen Hand. It gets into not what's known as the accidental worldview of history, the notion that wars, revolutions, and major world events, that they happen just randomly by random happenstance, because that's not the case. There's actually something called the conspiratorial view of history, which I hate that it's called that, because it's a sensational, that word has become sensationalized ever since the CIA created it and the media perpetuates it. So now anytime that someone hears conspiracy, they automatically think of, maybe the typical image that comes to mind that gets put out there of people in tinfoil hats, or people that just have crazy theories. And there is some of that, a lot of that exists today, right? As we have just discussed. However, much of it is based in factual based information and facts. So, and then the ultimate point, this is what I wanted to say to bring all of this home. So we see that we can't trust Fauci. Again, he's the fall guy, in my personal opinion, but he also knew that this stuff was man-made the entire time. He's just the front runner, the representative that was put out there to face us and you and me, the public, to feed us the soft soap and the story if we buy it. That's what Fauci's position was. And so now, whether it be because they can't contain the information that's being put out on social media anymore, and they can't hinder the truth coming out, they can't stop people from seeing it and the information from disseminating, as hard as they're trying, because they are trying very hard. They're censoring everything. Like even Instagram, I don't know how many of y'all have noticed, but Instagram is even more censored now, because when you go to the search bar, up at the top, when you go in the search tab, which is the second one from the left at the bottom of Instagram, it used to be to where you could put in that search bar and you could differentiate between whether you were searching for tags, accounts, and it was like a few other categories. But now those are not there anymore. I don't know if that's just a temporary update, but typically when Instagram makes updates like that, they don't tend to go back. But either way, the point is that Fauci's being the fall guy, given the role as fall guy now. Again, whether it's because they can't keep the information out, whether it's because of these vaccines. But the ultimate point to bring home and to bring everything full circle, family, is that Black people, because y'all know I'm here for Black people. I speak to my image. When I look in the air, in the mirror, that's the image that I see reflected back. So my point being is that Black people, you see that they've already been trying to give you the jab first and foremost, right up there with essential workers, and before, in the elderly, but before other demographics. you see that COVID has impacted black families. I won't say it's impacted black families harsher, women. So if it's impacted black people and women, then you know black women have been impacted as well. Okay, so what am I saying? Family, use your discernment. Okay, do not listen to the media. Turn the TV off. Do your research. Do your homework. Okay, find out the things that are going on and be aware of your surroundings, especially in these days and times, because one of the things that Yeshua spoke about heavily in his ministry, and one of the most prominent themes in the New Testament, and this is not ironic, family, is that a mark of the end times. As a matter of fact, the disciples came to Yeshua at one point in time and asked him, they said, Adonai, which is translated master in the Hebrew, or teacher, okay? But they asked him, they said, good teacher, what will be the sign of thy coming and of the end times? And the very first thing that Yeshua said was, take heed that no man deceive you. That's the very first thing that he said. Next thing he said was, for many will come in my name, saying that I'm here, I'm in this place, I'm in the secret places. In other words, what is he saying? In my name. What is his name? Salvation. This is why they changed the name of Yeshua to Jesus, man. Don't get me to going deep. This wasn't even supposed to be about this, but let's get into it. Yeshua, names are sounds. You feel me? So Yeshua. This is why in the scripture says that there's no other name under the heaven, under the Shamim. This is no other name under the heaven by which men must be saved. It's because when you say his name, Yeshua, literally it means Yah saves, Yah salvation. So when he says that many will come in my name saying, look, I'm here or in this place or there, he's not necessarily speaking of the false Christ, those who will come in the name of the anointed one and say, I am the Savior. But he's also speaking of salvation in and of itself. You got to understand, family. So when people are telling you, for instance, things like, hey, take this vaccine and you'll be safe, things can go back to normal. Come do this. Follow this government mandate. Go to this place. Do these government precautions, much of which don't make sense, for a virus that they pretty much got to remind you that you have and try to convince you to take the vaccine for it, which also is the fastest developed vaccine in history, by the way, which technically is not even really a vaccine. But what's any of that mean, right? Okay, but in other words, that's what he's saying, and that's the point, family, is that they're going to try to tell you that you can be saved in the various number of ways. Don't believe it, because you see that these, and especially if you black, the hell's wrong with you? You see, this Babylon system has never had your best interest in mind. In fact, they've always preyed upon people that look like you, and they still do it. They still exploit you. So, that's the research, family, and that's the word. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to get in touch with me, I'll leave my email below. I look forward to hearing what y'all have to say. If you have any questions, suggestions for next videos, topics, feel free to leave them. And until next time, family, hope y'all took the information. Hope you got something from it. Shalom. Y'all be easy. Peace.